Is that microphone working yet these days?
It is, it should be. They came out and checked the system and everything was working for our last meeting, so.
Excellent.
Everyone hear us in the council room okay?
Hello?
We can hear you.
Better turn this off.
Looks like Laura's on the road.
Laura, can you actually hear us?
Like she's muted. Oh, Sally.
Sorry about that. I was on a phone call. Got everybody else here?
I don't see the mayor, but it looks like we've got everybody else. Wait, hold on. Is Reasinga here? No, Mr. Mayor, no, Mr. Reasinga.
I will text Todd. Just saw Jerry the other day. All right, well, it's 12:03, so we'll go ahead and call this to order, and if anybody shows up late, they do, so.
Hey, you guys, Todd had an emergency and he literally forgot to send an email, so he's dealing with that, so he's not gonna be here.
Todd did?
Yep,
Okay,
so I think we can excuse him if he had an emergency, in my opinion, but I guess that's up to the board.
all right. All right, well, let's call this meeting to order then. If we can, I don't know, face the north here and we'll do our pledge of allegiance. So, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Yep.
And
I just got off the phone with the mayor. He's indicated that he's going to a doctor's appointment and will not be able to make it to the meeting today.
okay, I believe he had an oath of office to take, so that we'll skip. We will do a roll call for attendance. Ms. Arp,
Here.
Mr. Byer,
There.
Ms. Ensley,
Here,
Mr. Hall is not, Ms. Howland,
Here.
Ms. Powell,
Here.
Mr. Vriesinga is not present, Mr. Wilks,
I'm here.
and Mr. Ringler is present. At this time, we would open the meeting to public comments. Those citizens wishing to speak on agenda or non-agenda items will be allowed a maximum of 4 minutes to address their concern. This is the only time during the DDA meeting that citizens will be allowed to address the DDA. Please state your name and address for the record if you would like. Is there anyone who wishes to speak?
Mr. Ringler, I just got an email from Mr. Vreesinga indicating he had an emergency come up and he will not be able to attend today's meeting.
Thank you. All right, hearing none and seeing none, then we will move on to any conflicts of interest or ex parte communication.
I'd like to mention that, I'm pretty loud, aren't I? Good.
That's all
Bernie and
right.
I had a discussion about, can we spend some money to clear the sidewalks? The DDA, and I said, well, let's put it on the agenda and find out what happens. And that's as far as that went.
I think there is a snow removal discussion on the agenda.
Thank you.
Thank you. Then we move on to approval of the agenda. I think the one quick thing we might add here is we can do it under new business perhaps, but a quick, if there's a move to excuse any of our members who could not make it. Are there anything else that we would need to add or delete from the agenda?
No, but I'd excuse them. Authorized excuses. Forgot that they had a doctor's appointment. I've done that. An emergency is an emergency.
I'll second that.
If it's a motion, I don't know.
We can make the motion. I'll make a motion to excuse those folks that can't be here today.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
I,
Any opposed, same sign? All right, our two folks are excused. Thank you. Anything else for the agenda? All right, hearing none and seeing none, then I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda as written.
Approve the
I'll make-
agenda.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Rose. All in favor? Say aye.
I,
Any opposed, same sign. And thank you. And then the consent agenda, which would include the minutes from the regular meeting, which is included in your packet, and the financial report also included in your packet. If I could get a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as written.
Second,
Wonderful. Any discussion? And otherwise, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
I,
aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Beautiful, moving right along. Let's take a peek at unfinished business. We have a motion then. We had a discussion in the last meeting on a couple of sign options. There is a, for the, as a welcome sign in the staging area. There are those previous options that we discussed beginning on page 12 of your packet. The feedback from the first 5 were then submitted as option F, which would be page, I think, 16. If you take a look at the options, and I believe that was then being proposed here as the final that would be submitted to the council for permission to paint, and we would seek out bids for an updated price quotes to complete the project.
I motion to approve option.
Sorry, you cut off there.
I was just making a motion to approve option F. I like it.
Thank you.
Second. I second that too.
So we've got a second. Is there any further discussion on the sign options?
I cannot support it if we don't put Michigan on it. And a lot of people come through down that trail that are not from Michigan, they're not even from this country. And like, if they wanted to take a picture of it, they could be in Cedar Springs, Texas. So, let's put our state on there, please.
Thank you, Rose. Any other discussion?
I'd agree.
Ready then, all in favor, we'll go for a vote. All in favor of option F, indicate by saying aye.
I,
Any opposed?
No, not without Michigan.
Okay, thank you. Motion carries. We would move on then to new business, discussion of snow removal. Mr. Manager,
Sorry, trying to multitask this morning.
I hear you.
So this comes from one of the members of the board. I believe the discussion is about whether the board wants to finance additional snow removal in addition to what's being taken care of right now. Now, I looked at your budget from last year and I don't see anything in your budget for snow removal this year. So I didn't have a chance to speak with our finance director or not, decide to find out whether the city decided to take over those payments or not, or what happened. But I guess I'll leave it to the board to discuss whether they want to increase the amount of snow removal that occurs. So currently, the snow removal only occurs in the downtown shopping district. I suppose on the theory that as a shopper, you have to walk over the public sidewalk to enter the stores that are on the downtown main street. The proposal, I suppose, would be that the DDA would pay for snow removal on the sidewalks from 18 Mile all the way down to 17 Mile. I believe traditionally we have just chosen not to do that because all of the businesses that are north and south of the downtown area have parking lots. And all of the shoppers walk from their cars into those buildings from the parking lot, not generally from the sidewalks. This probably also has something to do with the city's new enforcement of the longstanding law that all businesses and properties are required to move snow off the sidewalks that adjoin their properties. So I'll leave it at that. And I guess I'd like to know whether the DDA wants to fund that type of snow removal. And second thing would be, I don't know if the DPW department has sufficient staffing to do that. So we would recommend that if we were to move in that direction, we'd want to seek out a third-party company that might want to do that on behalf of DDA.
I did, on last year's budget was the snow removal, the $2,500 in wages.
I believe wages is kind of a general thing that we use for putting up street signs and watering flowers up and down Main Street.
Okay, I thought I'd recalled a discussion for previous years that that's kind of where it was placed, that it was still coming out of our budget.
Yeah, that might be the case, but 2,500 seemed a bit low. But again, the previous winter was very light with snow removal, so.
If I could comment, for years, and I've been here quite a few years, and prior to, I guess, this regime, I'd say, city contracted deans to come in once a year and remove snow from the sidewalks and the curbs, which was fine if the timing was right. I personally didn't agree with it, and I still to this day don't agree with the fact that all this snow has to stay piled up in front of the businesses. Now, I don't, for 1 minute, do I think we need to remove snow all the way to 18 Mile. If it's in front of a business, it should be removed, be it our job, the city's job, the landowner's job, whatever. City Hall this morning, somebody's taking the snow off the sidewalk and the curb. It's wonderful. So now people can actually pull up to the curb, get out of their car, passengers can get out without having to park way away for whatever cause, and that's dangerous because they have to park away so somebody get out of their cars, but we've been through this enough times. So however we do it, I would think that there's no problem with Downtown Development Authority helping fund some of that. If it's third party, city does it, whatever, because that is the downtown. The rest of it from, I don't know, past the downtown businesses, I don't think we have to do it. Because you're not parking in the street. As Mr. Womack said, we're parking in parking. So that's my take on it, but we gotta get rid of that snow.
If I may ask for clarification on something with the snow. Are we talking about like the piles that these plows are creating up against the sidewalks? Is that what we're talking about
What
removing?
I'm talking about,
Yes.
not
That's-
talking about the sidewalks. That's that's another issue.
Yeah, that's what Bernie was talking about. Right now, the city goes up and down in the downtown area, Tom. So in front of your place, for example, they come through and sweep all that when we have snow, but obviously we have the big banks between the sidewalk and the road. And so that's what Bernie's talking about, is that used to be removed once a year when it would pile up like it is now. That it was removed. I think the point of this discussion was there was a request to see whether the DDA would entertain a wider sidewalk clearing similar to what's being done downtown, all the way up to 18 Mile, from 17 to 18 Mile. I have reached out to a couple private services to inquire for a bid, but that was just last week when this came up, and so I have not heard anything back yet. And I was hoping to have some of that information that we could put in the discussion here, but I think right now it's more philosophical whether if this is something we want to include in the budget going forward or maintain it as it is. So
I just think it kind of looks like at this point in the year, we're fairly late in, so it wouldn't really
Did you-
affect this year anyway. Am I correct on that?
Sorry.
If I can, excuse me, if I can disagree with that, if somebody wants to, from a personal standpoint, my wife worked for Rockford Schools. The girls, her friends, once a month, they'd come up to Cedar Springs, or they'd come to a restaurant, have drinks and a sandwich for dinner on a Tuesday or Wednesday night. They went over to Rand's across the street. They'd never go back because they couldn't get out of their cars. Okay, and that was the comment. They did, but they said, we can't get out of our cars. Consequently, it happens all the time when that snows there. That snow's got to be gone. I know we can't afford to take it off every day. Nobody can. It's expensive. You got to find a place to put it. I understand it. But I personally think that if we're going to spend our money, I think that if you look at the budget proposed here, my opinion, and I'm getting a little forward on the talking about the budget, but to me, that's just like subsidizing the city. Used to be, we did facades, we did on a parking lot, etc. And we're just doing all this little stuff. It's $1,500, $2,000, $3,000 stuff. I think spend the money for something important for the downtown businesses. Laura, Mr. Ringler, Sally.
before the DDA had much budget that was being done by the city, if this has gone back into the DDA budget since we've reset the DDA, whatever it was 4 or 5 years ago, and
Right.
started having a budget again. So,
Mr. Ringler,
yes.
having been on city council for the last 6 years, we've had years when we had to remove that snow. And we did set a amount to hire Walls, Ben Walls Company, to come in and remove it a couple of times a year sometimes. So the city itself does have the ability to get that done. And I would think that our DDA should pitch into that. And that might be something we have to work out, but I think we're going to have to do it pretty darn quick. That's my opinion.
Right, and then the portion that has been flipped over to the DDA has been the sidewalk clearing, not the snow,
Right.
not the wider snow removal. So
Right.
if we were
I'm-
talking about contributing to what the city is doing for the wider snow removal, I think that's a separate question from this one, which is our budget right now is paying for the sidewalk clearing in the downtown district. And the question here is, would we consider extending that versus just the downtown?
Had I known that
Yeah, I
that
got a
was,
question.
I thought we were gonna address
business owner-
removing the curb snow.
Hold
As a
on,
business owner, why are we not responsible to clear our own sidewalks? Why are we, as a DDA, paying to have sidewalks cleared? When if you own the business, get out there with a shovel, throw some salt. I mean, come on. It's not rocket science, you guys. We do it every day. Dave, you people do it every day. Like all of us do it every day. We even blow ours off with a blower when we're done.
Right.
Like if we need the money, let's use the money to clear the big snow banks. And why are we wasting money on plowing our? Sorry, guys, it just seems stupid to me.
I agree.
I don't disagree, Laura. I think if we look up and down Main Street, however, there are a number of business owners, everyone present here included, who do clean their sidewalks despite what the city does. I think it's fair to say that there are a number of properties that do not.
Agreed.
And I mean, if we're trying to encourage people to walk up and down Main Street and window shop, I think that's where perhaps it comes in. But again, you know, whatever the will of the board is, we certainly have the option to budget our resources as we see fit. So.
And there's safety issues, Laura, because we have these empty lots in town that nobody ever addresses. And so the city does kind of bust through a path for at least kids to get to school. And then, of course, businesses go on to make it even that much better. But at least there's a path busted through and a beginning for pedestrians. And that's kind of how that developed.
I know this, if you own a business in Grand Rapids and you don't shovel in front of it, you're getting a fine.
Right. And I agree with that. Absolutely. But it doesn't happen here.
So if you own a vacant lot and you don't shovel in front of it, perfect, fine them.
Agreed.
If I can step in again, could we clarify whether or not, if we're gonna get to the point of clearing the sidewalks the curbs and the piles, can we agree that we don't have to do it if there isn't a business in front of it? It's only where there's parking, i.e. Mr. Ringler, i.e. Laura, i.e. the city hall. I mean, nobody parks in the street in front of Vanderhyde Ford. We don't need to clear that snow off of there. Not in the way. That's what I'd like to do. First, say, if we're gonna do something, let's do it where there's a business in front of it.
Agreed.
I mean, I think people do park up and down in front of, on Main Street regardless, and I'm not,
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if it's practical to pick and choose the spots that are gonna be, I mean, it's either gonna be in this section or it's not gonna be in this section.
Nobody parks past Pine Street. Nobody's parking on the road past Pine Street. I've never seen a car parked there.
I've
I
never
agree.
seen a car parked past Dave's on the street. Never, not one.
And I agree with
They
that
park in
too.
front of the library.
Yeah, and they do across the street at the repair shop.
But Pine Street's down further.
Right.
Our concern is the curb snow. We need to get a handle on it. And I know council, we're gonna get after that, but we've got, 2 or 3 weeks before we go there.
Okay, well, I mean, again, to summarize, what we have done right now is our budget has contributed to the sidewalk removal. If I think we almost need, from what I'm hearing, we almost need clarification from the council. Are they doing the snow bank removal, and do we then want to consider contributing to that? And the other question would be if we're considering doing the sidewalk sweep beyond the downtown area. Does that sound fair, Mike? Mr. Womack?
Yeah, sorry, of course, the DPW guys were up at 3 o'clock in the morning, pushing snow this morning. So they've already left for today, but I'll address it with them tomorrow about whether we can get that done and how to do so.
And obviously, we haven't made a budget for it this year, so this would be going forward. So it's not something we have to decide today. But to summarize, I think those are the two questions that we're dealing with.
Sure, thank you.
Okay, if there are any further comments on snow removal, otherwise let's move on. All right, if we then can refer down our packet to the social district, and I think we have some information from Cadillac in our packets. And that looks like it begins on page 20 of your packet.
I also put a memo in there starting at page, I think, 18, just kind of discussing
sorry.
some of the things that I wanted to see here. I am currently in the process of drafting the social district for the local area. I guess what I'm looking for is any comments that the local business owners might have about that, for or against, and also just a general feeling of whether you guys think this would be a good idea for the community or not.
From what I'm reading, it's my understanding that this social district is essentially saying if you pick up a beer at the Legion, you can walk all the way up to heart of the city with it in your hands, as long as you stay on the sidewalk and you're not fighting anybody. And then we're not and there's no restrictions on that movement. Is that really the change we're talking about over our current situation?
I think that's the basic gist of it. I mean, I'd like them to do more than just not fight with other people as they walk down the sidewalk, but
It was a bad example, but you understood what I meant.
I know.
I thought you went right to the full Monty on your example there, Tom.
Hey, you know me, the one-eyed Viking always does what he wants.
There are some other state law requirements, such as you cannot walk into another bar with the alcohol you got from a separate bar. Plus all of the shops up and down Main Street, you can't walk into there with a open glass of alcohol. But yeah, the basic idea is that you'd be able to walk from a restaurant or bar to the heart of Cedar Springs, enjoy a concert in the park, and yeah, have a good time, I guess.
Mike, would it, I see you have during designated times. I guess my one concern would be confusion for the public in knowing when those designated times are. Would this be, would there be, I guess, a general, like this is going to be every Wednesday from, 5 to 10, or there a certain time period so that there's some consistency, or would it be randomly when there are events at the Heart?
Well, so that's kind of dependent on what the city council wants to do. Currently, I'm drafting it in such a way that this would only be permitted during the concerts in the park on Wednesdays. I have written in here from 6 p.m. until 9:30 p.m. On those dates. But you're right. Obviously, the public's going to have to know when this would be permitted. And the biggest tell, I think, would be that the businesses would only be able to sell the to-go cups during those times. So you're obviously not going to be walking around downtown with a glass, literally glass.
Well, again, we're talking about public confusion, and from a business that deals with confused public,
yeah,
I think clarity is just going to be important in terms of trying to establish not only, I mean, the businesses can try to communicate this too, but
yeah, we're gonna definitely have to have a lot of information put out, signage, etc. But I got to get the rules written first and have those rules approved of before we can get the information out to the public. But you are entirely correct.
Just a comment of, you can, you gotta have all the cups the same and just put the time on the cup. I mean, that'll help. Won't necessarily mean people are gonna read it, but at least it'll help.
If all the businesses that are serving alcohol have one cup that the
Yes.
city of Cedar Springs either provides or the business itself has to
Unfortunately,
purchase.
hold on, if I can jump in. Unfortunately, state law precludes that. It has to be marked from each individual business.
Couldn't you do that too? You say Cedar Brewery and then put the times on? I mean, there's a lot of things you could be consistent with.
You
Other.
certainly could write a time,
Are we considering having a area that is designated for folks that are drinking alcohol and those that are not? like a family group that they maybe, there are a lot of people in the area that maybe don't want to be sitting with people drinking alcohol, believe it or not, but that's a fact.
I think you're
Uh,
micromanaging.
Ms. Powell, if you're specifically referring to concerts at the park, then
Yes.
that was my intention.
Yes,
I've just been overwhelmed, so I haven't had a chance to write it.
right.
Yeah, the idea would be that the kind of the rear part of the amphitheater would allow high tops and people to drink alcohol, but closer towards the actual amphitheater itself would be more reserved for family and no alcohol.
Okay.
Well, I mean, as a business owner, who certainly could be part of this type of activity, and having observed what has gone on in neighboring communities such as Rockford and Grand Rapids with these social districts, I mean, the feedback that I've seen has been largely positive. There's been certainly a few issues, policing being one of them, but in some of the more crowded districts, but it appears that it's been relatively positive and a shot in the arm for a lot of these communities. So, you know, my sentiments would certainly be in favor of something like this. And obviously, if it's a situation where it was only for certain occasions, if it gives us the opportunity to amend, I would think, if we were having problems. So
I'm just thinking about the folks that, and I know them, you know, they're friends of mine, but they will not attend anything where there's alcohol, and it's not my issue, but it's theirs. And certainly, you know, we have to have an opportunity for those folks that believe that drinking alcohol is an absolute horrible thing, and they pay taxes here too.
Well, I mean,
You have to be drinking to participate in the social district of walking up and down the street. I mean, it's just part of it. I'm assuming what we're talking about is having the ability to take a drink outside when considering no one's allowed to stay inside right now. And that's where these social districts are popping up. While I understand what you're saying, I don't think that's that big of a deal.
Right.
I also don't think, frankly, we're going to have the same kind of crowds here as we've had in Rockford. And but it also may be helpful to get some use on the concerts and other events in the heart of Cedar Springs. So
I personally think if we don't do it, we're gonna be missing something here, guys. Almost, I mean, a lot of our neighboring communities are putting this into effect right now. We want to be the only one that doesn't, and so people will be going outside of our community spending money. We need to help our restaurants and our businesses that are struggling.
As a technical business outsider, I've only been here for about a year and in Cedar Springs for less than 5. I can honestly tell you, things like this are what bring this city to its attention. If it wasn't for Dave's Brewery, I wouldn't even have considered this town. I didn't even know it was here until I heard of the brewery. And now I've been here for 5 years. I own a business here. I plan on staying here for the next 25 years. I like it here. And I think things like this we're, as Laura just said, we're missing out simply because of the fact that the cities around us are doing it and we're not.
And understand me, I'm not talking about eliminating it. I'm talking about making an area that is exclusively non-alcoholic. That's all I'm saying.
it sounds like that is part of it, Rose. Thank you. I think the other thing is my hope, and I've said this all along, and that even way back when we were planning and we were having a parking discussion, you know, we've always encouraged people to not necessarily park in our back lot, but to park else up and down Main Street so that they can walk by other shops. And if this encourages people to walk up and down Main Street, I think that is a nice way to, you know, maybe discover some retail that they've never seen before. You know, getting walkable communities is I think the goal of most at this point, and this is a way to get people to walk up and down the street and maybe see Sally's shop that they haven't noticed before is a good thing, you know, or Perry's tea shop or whatever. But
I plan on staying open late if this thing gets approved. I will be there with a big happy smile on my face. Come and see the bakery, even though nobody wants a cinnamon roll at 8 o'clock at night. But,
like a cinnamon roll to go with a concert. I'm in.
Dave, Jerry Hall here. You hear me?
Hi, Jerry.
Hey, hello, Mr. Hall.
Yeah, I'm in on with Amy, but I say, why not? Let's try it. What's it gonna hurt, you know? If it creates a problem down the road, we can always fix it. It's like in any ordinance, what are we gonna try to fix? And I think this is not gonna hurt everything, but why not try it, see where it goes?
Thank you. Mike, was there anything that you wanted to point out specifically in the Cadillac information that's in here, or is there anything else? I mean, I don't know if there's any decision that we make outside of a discussion and consensus, but, or do you want an approval or? something?
Sorry, the Cadillac stuff was just convenient for me because that's what I showed the council at their last meeting. Really, the memo was the more important thing, starting at page 18. You know, I'm going to be drafting it. I wanted to meet what is expected of the businesses downtown. You know, this is not strictly being done to allow people to drink beer in a park while watching a concert. It's being done so that people are walking past your storefront on their way to the concert. We want this to help promote businesses. And yes, there are some possible downsides to it, but anything that you guys can tell me that you think could be changed or modified that would help promote your business, please let me know. But I'm with Mr. Hall. I think we should try this. If things go sideways, we can stop doing it. If things work out, I think it'll be good for the community. So I'm going to continue drafting it. And the second I have a good draft put together, the council's obviously going to see it, but I'll bring it back to you guys or send it to you by email for comment. Because you guys are always a good sounding board for me. So I appreciate that.
Thank you. All right, if anybody has any other comments on this, otherwise we will move on.
Don't need a motion to do it.
Nope, at this point, no. We move on then to another discussion of the year-round porta-john at the staging area.
So this was also something brought to me by one of the members. I believe this was into the theory that there's a lot of snowmobilers that kind of come up into the community. Unfortunately, our bathroom out there is not heated, so we do have to close it during the freezing time of year so our pipes don't burst. But I understand you can have a porta-john out there all year if you wanted to. And with the idea that we're probably going to have a couple of porta-johns out there throughout the concert series at least, I think this member was interested in funding at least one porta-john to be out there throughout the winter months. So I'll leave it at that.
Is there a need? I mean, from being close to the heart, I know we get some snowmobilers here a few weeks a year, and generally they come and use ours, which is fine, but.
I see a lot of hikers, bikers, snowmobilers now that we have snow for once. But I think it would be a great courtesy for us to have a porta-john down there in the winter. I'm not talking about year round, but they come to town. Sometimes you got to go. And maybe it won't be a great investment for our DDA, but it would kind of bring attention to, oh, by the way, we're a pretty friendly town. And
Rose, maybe another better option would be to put a sign maybe on the bathroom that is out there indicating that the library is open from 10 to 6 and the new fire station building is open from whatever hour to whatever hour, so that they could just walk a block and a half and use a bathroom that's indoors and heated. Is that maybe a better option? Wouldn't cost nearly as much money.
well, when the library's closed at 6, and I don't know when the fire department's going to be open for a public restroom. It's just a suggestion. I'm not going to argue about it.
Well, one of my other concerns would be, vandalism or anything. If we had something sitting out there, would we have to snow or move around it? Who's responsible if someone gets in there and creates an issue or goes swimming in the bottom or?
And who's gonna make sure it's clean for people to use? Is that part of
the rental company would typically come and service it once a week or every 2 weeks or whatever the agreement was, but.
So guys, we're snowmobilers, and I can tell you this, when we have to go to the bathroom, we find the local restaurant and spend some money there. That's what we do. Or you stop in the middle of the trail and you drop trunk. It just happens, right? And we snowmobile a lot. So you're going to a town, you're specifically going through that town, you're gonna find the local restaurant. So I think personally, if we put one out there, we're doing a disservice to some of our local restaurants in town. My personal opinion, I mean, heck, they could even go to Busy Suite, any of us, they could stop at my shop, I don't care.
I think Mike's idea of a sign saying it's closed in the winter, please feel free to visit any of the businesses in the town, is more cost effective, better in the long run, and smells a hell of a lot better.
And it makes people go to local businesses that they might have not gone to before.
Oh, I've got a printer and a laminating machine. I can put the sign up tomorrow morning.
Any other discussion? All right. I don't think there's any motion on this, so we would move on then to a joint DDA chamber website discussion. And there is a link in your packet on the agenda page to the Heart of Rockford, website that their chamber created, if anybody had a chance to peek at that.
I'll be honest, when I tried to use it, the link didn't work, so I haven't had a chance to look at that website at all.
To actually click on the link, you have to hit Control and then click it with your mouse, and that'll open it for you.
It's basically a pretty simple website. It looks like a chamber type website. There's local businesses and a calendar of events, and it's pretty simple and clean. It is not not an overly done site. Like I said, it's mainly trying to make, I think to Rose's point, the community friendly and welcoming. And, I think we've also kind of used this Heart of Cedar Springs thing. It's a nice idea. I think there's already a map similar to their one on Explore that we could plug in there. And it does link their social district as well, and has the rules on there for their RARA, which is their outdoor refreshment area.
So, something I would like to add too is, the DDA is kind of coming into its own now. We've been funded for almost 4 years. And you guys are getting $12,000 more this year than you had last year. That shows the growth we have in the community. Plus, with the marijuana businesses coming online, I suspect that's going to go through the roof the next couple of years as well. So I think it's appropriate that the DDA has access to its own website that is not just Facebook. And I think there's an opportunity here for the DDA to work with the chamber and kind of run a joint page. Even though the DDA's goal is not really business enhancement, the DDA and the chamber have a lot of very common goals. And so I wanted to look into this as an option. I know Mr. Ringler looked into it a little bit more than I did, but I think for a small investment, the DDA could put together a web page that would not only let people know who you are, what you do, but you could work with the chamber so we could also promote businesses that way. Mr. Ringler, did you get an option or an opportunity to take a look at costs and kind of what it would take to do this?
I didn't on this. I was really waiting for this discussion to see where it went. But I can certainly, in our own experience, provide a little bit of budgeting reference. And we did speak to the Rockford Chamber that has put this together, and they had they obviously have employees, so that makes it a little easier, but they were able to do it for about $500, including the hosting, which is pretty good. I'd say maybe 4 to 5 times that in a private setting, but I can certainly go out and look for a couple providers that can put something together and make something look nice and clean. So I guess it's just a matter of the purpose in this discussion, I believe, was whether this was something that the board would be interested in and participating and partially or completely funding.
For reference,
think it would be
Dave, I just
amazing.
recently did mine. It cost me just under $2,000 to have a private company do it for me. And my website went from a literal piece of excrement to a ridiculously awesome website. And I spent a lot of money on it. So it's, if you're having a private company do it for you, even as a one-time thing, you're looking at $1,500 to $2,000, not including hosting, and then plus your maintenance costs if you ever want to update things and change things. And so I redid my whole contract on mine, and like I said, I owed about $2,000 up front, but now I'm not paying very much in the long run.
Sorry, would somebody else chime in there too?
What we paid to have our number one, but to have a couple of great organizations working together is amazing, right? The more organizations that we can get working together as one instead of separate entities would be amazing.
So I'm sorry, you were in favor of working with the chamber, Laura?
Yes, I think it would be awesome to work together, right? Instead of having 75 different little things going on, if we can, form it all into one or two, it'd be great. So people know they can go to one spot instead of 16.
Sure.
I agree.
Laura, have you had any indication from your working with the chamber, whether, I mean, I know back when I was more involved with the chamber, we were always trying to get a website going and it never seemed to happen, but.
We have one done. We have a beautiful one we just had built, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So would we be redundant in creating something for the Heart of Cedar Springs, or?
No, because we could link it to our chamber page as well, right? So when people go to that, they're going to see what's happening in the town, right? So if it is one, a link that goes to one spot or whatever, even if there's a link on our page that goes to the DDA page, or there's a link that goes to the chamber page, it would be amazing to have it all in one spot, everything that's happening in town. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but when I go out of town and I'm trying to find something to do, the first thing I do is look up somebody's chamber.
So Laura, wouldn't it be a little bit more cost effective maybe to have the DDA see if the chamber would allow the DDA to put its own little separate page on the chamber page? And then maybe
I would think so, yeah.
I'll pay for some of the ongoing upkeep costs.
Yep. I can send you the person that did our chamber website, although everybody knows that whenever you have a website built, they're either really fabulous and the people stay around forever, or these techie people tend to go in and out a lot. So this guy was all in and then out for a while and then all in. And so, yeah.
What is the chamber site? Because the one I'm seeing looks like it has not been updated in some time.
So I have some frustration with that because that site hasn't been taken down. The new site has taken that place. So if you have been to the old site and your cache hasn't been cleared, you're going to go straight to the old site every single time.
Wow.
Yeah, because that site hasn't been taken down, and I wish it would get taken down.
You can get around that by going incognito, just in case you wanted to see it. Just incognito should take you straight to it.
Is it on? The old one looks like it's a Wix site, right?
Yeah, that's the old one.
Okay.
Our new one is beautiful.
I just went incognito and it looks like the exact same one.
Yeah, it worked for me when I was incognito the first time, and you're right. Now I'm getting back to the old one. Weird.
Yeah, that old site seems to I'm not a tech person.
Mr. Ringler, for today's purposes, I think the point was, do we want to move forward with a website that would work with the chamber? I was not aware that the chamber had their own new website. Maybe we should work with them and see A, if they can fix their website, and B, if we wanted to see if they would allow us to share some space on the website for the DDA. Is that a reasonable way to move forward?
I would think so. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like we need a little more information to discuss this fully and to include it in the budget. So does anybody else have any comments on the website?
All right.
Sorry, Bernie?
Nope. Sorry.
All right, let's move on then. We have a preliminary budget discussion for 21-22. Hopefully you've all had a chance to kind of take a look at some of this over the past few days as this has come out. Obviously, some of these items are part of the discussions we've been having. I will also take a look at, I don't know if it's in our packet anywhere, but we had our original plan that was approved when we reset the DDA that kind of listed 12 of our main goals for the DDA. And I'm not sure those are in the packet. I'm just going to briefly read through those. So in case anybody has not seen them, we have some newer board members. Creation of new off-street parking lots. 2, alley improvements. 3, acquisition and construction of buildings, structures, and property. 4, improvements to and renovation of existing buildings. I'm sorry, that was number 4. 5, construction of parks. 6, improvements to White Pine Trail. 7, improve accessibility to downtown area from White Pine Trail. 8, commercial business and building development and redevelopment. 9, municipal buildings. 10, development of cohesive, standardized, citywide signage standards. 11, pedestrian and bicycle improvements. 12, business and downtown development and marketing. And finally, establish downtown recreation and annual signature events. So those were our priorities that we would want to keep in mind as we look at the budget for next year. Oh, sorry, I didn't see you had that there.
You're waiting for a comment. I'll make one. If I don't understand in this budget, and I know now that we have some money after several years of not having any, that some of these things come into effect. But for example, who are seasonal employees? I've never seen that before. What am I missing?
So the seasonal employee is a new one for this year. Part of the discussion we've had in the past is difficulty in getting some of this stuff done. The DPW department is actually very small. We run a very lean department. And what I'm proposing is that the DDA help fund for half of one seasonal employee. So we'd bring somebody in for 3 or 4 months throughout the summer. And they would spend half of their time strictly in the DDA doing whatever's required. Watering flowers, cutting weeds, whatever is required. So that's what is being proposed with that.
Okay. How about one in the winter to remove snow?
There you go. One thing we discussed at council or somewhere along the line is an additional actual bathroom like we have down there now, but like another one for our big events. Or adding more porta potties. And I don't know if we can eventually contribute to the fund to build, another actual bathroom if that's a possibility.
Well, I do have a meeting today at 3 o'clock that will be addressing that issue. You know, a portable, I'm sorry, a block bathroom with 2 or 3 stalls on each side is going to be about $150,000 to $175,000. And I think I can work it in with a splash pad at the same time. So that's kind of one of my goals, but I wasn't ready to discuss it today. But I did put $500 in the budget for porta-johns.
Right, so we probably won't be getting another bathroom for a year or two, right? So in
No.
that case, during these concerts and so forth, we probably should have an extra porta-john down there. I realize everybody wants the business, but sometimes folks just need to do their business there and go back to the concert. So hopefully we'll be kind enough to put a porta potty down there during the big crowds, a porta potty or two. Be nice.
Yes, the city fully anticipates doing that.
Thank you, Mike.
One
As we-
more, you explain wages. What's the $1,000, whose wages?
The wages help pay for some of the DPW's time for things such as watering flowers or putting up new street signs or whatever else.
So even though they're in there, like you've got flower box expense 1,500, but then this is just supplementing that 1,500 if you need it.
So the 1,500 is actually spent on the purchase of the flowers, and the wages helps the watering of the flowers.
Okay.
So. Sign. Do we have a target on parking lots? Just looking down this budget, is there something that we have in mind for this upcoming year?
Yeah, so we delayed doing a mill and fill on Second Street with the anticipation that we would do both Second Street and the municipal parking lot that's kitty corner to City Hall behind, I think, B&B Beauty Supply. That's going to be a $35-ish thousand project. So there was $5,000 in the budget from last year. And we could put this 5,000 towards either the B&B Beauty Supply parking lot, or we could maybe put it towards the next parking lot to be repaved, or whatever else we might need to do in a parking lot. But that was the current goal for it.
Oh, I was going to ask about the signs for the social district. $1,000,
Well,
what
sure.
does that include?
So one of the things that was asked about prior in this meeting was how do we inform people about what's permitted and where they can go? For anybody who's been to another social district, there's a bunch of kind of like A-frame signs that are put up telling you kind of, where the district is, what the rules are. I looked, those are about $150 a piece. And, we're probably going to have to put up some kind of barriers or visual limitations in the heart of Cedar Springs itself if we want to separate out drinking and non-drinking areas. So yeah, that money can disappear quickly.
Thank you.
And then the wages that you have on here are in addition to the seasonal employee.
So I will admit that the wages, equipment rental, and material expenses, which represents $3,000, that was all copy pasted from the last budget. It's entirely possible that the seasonal employee would eat up a lot of that. And so that $3,000 might not actually be used much at all. And because of this past year with COVID, you guys saved a significant amount of money from this past year's budget as well. So, this is not me telling you this is how you're going to spend your money. This is me asking you to prioritize what you want to have spent. But, you know, certain things like printing and publishing, we're required by law to do certain things. So I would strongly recommend you help pay for that. The water utility expense, that helps pay for the water that we put into the flowers. You could reduce these wages and equipment and material expenses down to something less if you want. But there may be a point during the summer where we say, hey, we don't have any money. We need to budget more for that. And then it would come out of your fund balance.
And then to that point, if we have money that's rolled over from last year, a significant amount, so we really have a bit of a capital fund that we could dedicate towards a larger project at some point if we wished, right? This is only this upcoming year's budget.
Correct. So if everything stays the same, you're probably looking at about 30 to 35,000 bucks in your fund balance.
In the fund balance.
Correct. That would be in addition to the 38,330 that you're expecting to get for next year's budget.
And then we could go to David's list and maybe target something there when you give us that list of our priorities. We haven't targeted anything there that I know of, have we?
Well, just about everything that you guys see here is somehow related to my understanding of what the goals are. So for example, community event sponsorship, the concerts and the bike race, those are annual events that help bring people into downtown. That's in the list. The portable bathrooms, same thing. You can't have these events without having portable bathrooms. Plus it relates to the White Pine Trail.
Correct, yeah.
Public art, the welcome sign mural, those are both in there. Flower box expenses. Really, there should be nothing being done that isn't related to those, I think it's 13 items.
Mike, do you think, or will we also be able to support security for the social district area if we believe we need it?
Yeah, but I was hoping to pay for that through the budget that I've secured already for the summer concert series.
Okay,
I think we'll be able to afford it through there, but certainly the DDA can help contribute towards that.
thank you.
Okay, so we're not obviously approving a budget right now, but we we want to start thinking about this as the next meeting or the meeting following we approve the budget. We're mid-year, aren't we?
I think we ask for the DDA to be done by March, but we can go to a special meeting or even April at the very latest.
Are there any other targeted lists or targeted projects in your mind that maybe something like a parking lot or a park or a playground in the heart, maybe as the fire department moves, or something that might warrant consideration from DDA as a larger capital project?
Sorry, so there are a couple things. I know the fire department wanted to put a sculpture of a fireman out in front of their building once it's completed. I think I had a quote on that was something like 3,000 bucks. So the DDA could contribute to that. As
the big likeness of Marty?
I'm sorry?
Is it a big likeness of Marty?
Yes, we're definitely gonna make sure it looks like Marty. I know that Ms. Powell was indicating about the bathrooms. You know, that's probably 2 or 3 years down the road. But if anybody has, well, I'd like to see a playground start developing out there too. So I might come back to the DDA and ask for funding for that.
Parking lot, pardon me, we have had discussions, ongoing discussions about what to do with the area when the former soon-to-be old fire barn is removed. There's been a lot of discussions about different things. So if a parking lot happens to be developed there, we could do something to contribute to that.
And then the only other thing I would say is I really would like to get back into the DDA, helping fund some of these like facade improvements or sign improvements up and down Main Street. You know, you guys just the way it is, you'll have money left over from each budget. And I don't see why you couldn't put together a, spring facade improvement grant where you could say, here's $1,000, fix up your building or whatever. And, the businesses would have to come to the DDA with their proposals. We'd probably want to require a minimum 50%, contribution. But I think those could be wildly popular. We just have to get the businesses on board with it.
Well, speaking of signs, I mean, we did a sign committee a couple of years ago, and we had a target of a number of signs. I don't know as if those are all done yet. Do we have a list of the remaining ones that may need to be done, and or potentially the remaining street signs in the city that have not been updated as the new ones are?
I'm sorry, I meant businesses signs. There are some old signs that have been up forever and maybe they need to be improved upon. As far as like street signage and welcome to the city signage, I believe that's all been taken care of. Obviously, the actual street signs we're working on every spring. We have a little bit of money left over. I know the guys are going to spend close to $1,000 this coming summer on new signage, street signage. But what I meant was offer money to a business. Here's $500 if you replace your old sign.
Any other discussion on budget or wish lists?
Can I ask a question about the old fire barn? We're talking about a new bathroom. Is there not bathrooms in the fire barn?
There is one bathroom and one shower located in the old fire station.
Okay.
Not sure I want to just leave that open to the public to use. There's some liability issues there.
I would not suggest the shower being open to the public.
No.
No,
But
that was, is that if that facility could have an exterior door put in to where the bathroom is?
maybe, but I think we're getting ahead of ourselves. I literally have no idea what the city's going to do with that building.
Okay.
But it's something we have talked about. Yeah.
All right. Is there any other budget discussion then for today? And I would say we'd move on then to number 9, correspondence.
So we received this. It looks like it's some kind of downtown association training for DDA members. Problem is we don't have a budget for it through the DDA. So if you wanted to, we could put some money aside for training in your budget, and then we could pay for a couple people to go to these types of things. Or I guess it's just for your knowledge. And if you really desperately want to learn about downtown and DDA training stuff, you're welcome to pay for it and attend it on your own private time.
Is there a price on it available?
Yep, just give me a second.
And where is it? Or is it virtual or?
Aren't you guys supposed to be looking at this stuff too? Jeez Louise.
Is that through MML, Mike?
No, it's through the Michigan Downtown Association, which is.
Okay,
something-
it's page 39 in the packet, yeah?
Yep, Friday, March 26th, virtual, 8:30 to 4 p.m. and I thought it was like 50 or $75. It's not very expensive. I don't see it listed here, but I think it's pretty cheap. I can send you additional information. Matter of fact, it might even be here. Let me look real quick.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was in the packet, but I do see it as
Nor did I.
39 and 40 is in the packet, so we could read through it.
Yep, 50 and 75, it looks like.
I think it might be worth having a couple people in. I mean, heck, I'd pay to go myself if it's only that, if it's that cheap, but. I mean, as we have a couple dollars and as we have people who are invested in this community, I think it behooves all of us to learn what we can and be as productive as we can. I don't, we want to make these meetings efficient and productive as well, and get through this in an orderly fashion and be effective with the dollars that we have. So I think that can help.
Absolutely.
Mr. Ringler, Gary Hall here. I think it would be a good idea to put a couple thousand in a line item for continuing education for the DDA members. It's just a matter of submittal, and if you don't use it, we carry it over for next year. We do it for all the other departments, so I think it's an excellent idea.
Well, we do currently have 9:30, I believe, that's scheduled to go into your fund balance. I could just shift that into a education and training budget.
Good idea.
Certainly, unless we amend anything else, but I think it's not a bad idea to have.
So the only question I would have then is if anybody wants to attend this meeting, which is before your next meeting, right now you'd have to privately pay for it unless somebody wanted to make a motion to pay for anybody who wants to go out of fund balance from the DDA this year.
What's the date again? March 26th, you said?
Yeah, it's a Friday.
Looks like,
You want me to make a motion?
Only if you want to.
Well, I'll make a motion to use the $930, set that aside for education for the DDA board, if they want to,
well,
for this year.
I would support that.
hold on. I mean, the 938 would be for next year. So this would be from fund balance for this year that we would have to use.
Oh, okay.
Yep. That's-
Should I amend my motion to this year, or should I keep it to next year?
I would just suggest that we might use a percentage or a couple dollars of, I mean, first of all, is there any members here that would be interested in attending this?
Yes.
And I think I would, but
Okay. Is
I
it
would.
virtual, did you say?
it looks like it is. Mike, are we members of this organization?
I don't believe so.
Okay, so the member price looks like it was $50 and it's 75 for non-members. But we may
So-
want to look into membership.
So if we have a couple people who are interested in going, how about a motion to pay for anybody from the DDA who wants to attend the fund balance for this year? And
Yes.
then have them contact the clerk, the city clerk, and she can get you signed up.
Mhm.
I would put a limit at it, like not more than $500, which we wouldn't even be close to, but. So if you don't mind rephrasing that, Rose.
Okay, I want to make a motion to pay for any member of the DDA that wants to attend these classes to be paid back or reimbursed by this year's fund balance. And also to include the fund balance from next year for education for our DDA members. Does that
Support.
sound good?
I'll support that.
Absolutely.
Second. I don't know.
Mike, is that, we're not talking about two different pockets of money. I mean, next year's budget's not approved yet, so it wouldn't have. to be-
Okay.
I did need that last part, but I understand what Rose is saying.
That would be in a next year's budget discussion. So for this year, it would be to support education from this year's fund balance to attend the conference if they wished.
Okay, how you doing with that, Rebecca?
Yep, I got it.
She's got it.
Perfect. All right, and we have a second, I believe.
Yes.
So
Yes.
as this is an expenditure, then I will do a quick roll call. Ms. Arp,
Yes.
Mr. Byer,
Yes.
Ms. Ensley,
I think she's lost.
I believe she's gone into a meeting.
okay. Mr. Hall.
Yes.
Ms.
Yeah.
Hall, Ms. Howland,
Yes,
Ms. Powell,
Yes.
Mr. Wilks,
he's muted.
Yes, I'm good.
and Mr. Ringler also votes yes. So, okay, cool. Thank you, guys. All righty. The DDA Director's Report, please.
Yeah, so it's just, it's been very busy here. There's lots of marijuana businesses who want to be in town, for better or for worse. The social districts thing, I think that's going to ultimately prove to be a good thing. The summer concerts in the park, looking forward to having a couple of those in town. Like to see a gravel bike race happen. I don't know, are they going to have a 4 or 5 mile loop that I could do, Mr. Ringler?
We can put you on the kiddie loop.
Yes.
I do have news on that, though. Merrill has signed on as a sponsor. So
Awesome.
we have Merrill from WWW that's on board. So
No, but I guess the only other thing I'd mention is last year we had 24,000 in our budget. This year it's 38. We're gonna have to start thinking long-term, which is one of the reasons I wanted to bring up the capital improvements idea. If we're gonna have $40,000 in fund balance, 35, 40,000 bucks in fund balance, you can start thinking about things like, can you purchase a building and have it refurbed? Can you then start renting that building out to businesses? That's the kind of stuff that the DDA board can start doing once it gets more money coming in. So start thinking about that. I really want to start thinking about what we can do to improve the downtown for businesses, because you guys have the budget to do it. And if you have any other comments or thoughts about where to allocate the budget money for next year, I want to hear about it. I will look at some of these that I had discussions with you guys about today and try to revamp it a little bit, but I didn't hear any other substantial changes that you guys wanted to see made. So I guess please contact me if you want to see something changed. Thank you.
all righty, thank you. We will move on then to trustee comments. Ms. Arp? Any?
I like the idea of the downtown district. I think it's only gonna help bring people to town, see the businesses, and bring people to Cedar Springs that normally wouldn't come out this way. So I like that idea. I think one of my biggest things on our list is, as this town grows and continues to develop for the future, is making sure we have parking available and that it's convenient for the people coming to our town. So that's one of the big things on my list. I'd like to see, but I think that's about it for me.
Mr. Byer?
No, the only comment I have is just getting back to the snow. I mean, we seem to talk about it, and nothing happens. I mean, nothing. Right now, somebody should be getting that snow off of there so people can park on Main Street. How we're gonna do it, I don't know. I don't have the answer. I just don't like it. It's ugly, it's unsafe, and I just don't like it. And I don't own a business downtown, but if I did, I wouldn't like it a lot worse.
Thank you, sir. Laura, I believe, is gone. Mr. Hall, any comments?
Yeah, we have a lot of moving parts going on here in the city in the background, and Mr. Womack and I are constantly working on how to improve things. I've discussed with him, we have to update our master plan coming up here pretty soon, and I'd like to get all the business people and the DDA members and the planning commission together in a roundtable discussion on where do we want to see the city go in the next 10 to 20 years. It's all work in progress, and it's all a team effort. So thank you everyone for all your work, and sorry for coming in late.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Howland?
Just want to thank everybody for participating. Let's kind of shorten it up, so I'll just pass on.
Thank you, Ms. Powell.
Me?
Yes, any comments?
I just had to clarify something then about the Red Flannel Festival. It is not a private organization. It is a nonprofit, public nonprofit. It is created for one and only one reason, and that is to create a festival to celebrate our city, our culture, our history, and our people. That's why I thought it would be nice to have it on the welcome sign. I'm withdrawing that because apparently it's too controversial for some folks. The other thing is the clock tower. We're working on the clock tower. I think we'll probably have the new clock faces on this summer. We continue to work on the Veterans Honor Garden. So, you know, COVID has screwed that up for us. But also the community building development team, which has developed all that property for us. They also created the clock tower and installed it, and they wanted it decorated. The Red Flannel Festival did not paint the clock tower. That was a CBD project. I was a facilitator. I was part of it. The timing was off a little bit, but anyway, I wanted to clear up those two facts. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Wilks.
In the interest of brevity, have absolutely no problem with anything we've done today. Thumbs up. Happiness from Tom.
Thank you, sir. And again, I appreciate everybody's contribution. The one thing that I don't think we did bring up that we had discussed previously, and we may want to consider as we're rolling around for the budget meeting next time, is the startup pods. I think we had discussed that at one point too, and whether that is a priority in creating some incubator type spaces. If you have a chance to pop on to what Muskegon has done in downtown, they have a pretty cool setup there with some startups. And again, that may be a way to get some energy into downtown. So, you know, if it's something that the board likes, we have some resources to perhaps put a game plan like that into action here over the next year or two. So with that, I would entertain a motion to close the meeting. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
And a second.
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 All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you. You too.